Hi Libra, welcome to your reading. If you're new to the channel, I do timeless readings, which means that whenever you find this video is when you're meant to hear the messages within it. And in case you subscribe, I upload my new videos for Libra and Aries on Mondays. Also, the deck that I'm using today is called the Crystal Visions Tarot. And as always, if you're interested in a personal reading, the information is in the description below. But I do want to give you guys a heads up that sometimes the cards like to flip over in the deck. I do see them, however, I really only take jumpers. And if they come out in groups that are too big, I'll just put them back. But my goal here is to get you guys roughly 4 more cards so we can have 8 or 9 cards. And then we can get started on your reading. So there's the Ten of Wands. I did see that card while shuffling, actually, so I think it's in particular probably a strong energy that you guys are dealing with right now. So, Libra, I do want to say that if you guys enjoy the reading, the best way to let me know is by leaving a like or a comment. But your overall energy here is the King of Pentacles, which honestly, I think is some really good energy to have. I think that you guys are really much in a place of stability now. And I feel like even if this isn't you currently, this is where you're working towards being, right? So it's all a matter of getting to that stability that you are desiring right now. I think it's very interesting because there's a lot of sort of that earth influence I see here. Because we have the Hierophant and we also have the Devil card, which represent Taurus and Capricorn respectively. So I think that for a lot of you guys, you might be trying to channel that sort of earth sign energy in order to make your sort of finances and your material stuff line up a lot more with what you want. Right, because the King of Pentacles can represent that, right? The King of Pentacles represents Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn. But I think that more than that, you guys want to be very business savvy. You guys want to be very materially wealthy. And I don't mean that in like a selfish or like a... This is going to sound a little bit counterintuitive, but like a materialistic way. Like, I don't think that you guys are being negative about this, like you're not being greedy or anything. It's just a matter of, you know, needing upgrades around the house, whatever, just like being comfortable with where you're at, right? But I do want to draw attention away from that for a little bit and talk about this High Priestess and Six of Wands combo, which is incredibly strong, you guys. The High Priestess talks about, you know, your sort of divine femininity. It talks about your intuition, sort of your mental power. Like, the High Priestess is a fantastic card to have because it talks about the story of the High Priestess in the Fool's journey is the Fool comes and sees the Magician, and the Magician sends him off to the High Priestess. And the High Priestess is able to communicate with the Fool without even opening her mouth. So she's able to telepathically explain everything that the Fool needs to know before he even asks. Like, we don't know what we need to know. Or rather, we don't know what we don't know, but the High Priestess knew what the Fool needed to know. I apologize, Libras. I am still fighting off a cold. But with the Six of Wands, you're going to see huge success here with the High Priestess. So now is certainly a time to follow your intuition. Now is not the time to second guess your gut feeling. Now is the time to really go through with it, because you're going to see success when you do that. when you follow your intuition, you're going to feel like that was the right thing to do. And it's very interesting because we have the Hanged Man with the Ten of Wands. Now, like I said, the Ten of Wands, I feel like it's very important to you guys because I saw it while shuffling and it almost came out, and then it came out the second time. So it's almost like this card really, really needed to come out. And the Ten of Wands is a card about burdens. So I feel like you guys are very burdened right now. I feel like you guys feel like the world is on your shoulders and you need to do so much in order to maintain, you know, the status quo of everything. And getting around the house for a lot of you guys. Perhaps a lot of you guys might be having some difficulty sort of at home maintaining the peace. That's sort of the role that Libras find themselves in a lot of the times, is the mediator or sort of the person that tries to avoid the conflict. But I feel like if this isn't like at your house, like it's at work or at school or wherever you find yourself frequenting, but I'm certainly getting that you have this feeling that everything is on you, like you're like so burdened. But because we have the Hanged Man here, I think it's time for you to sort of shift that paradigm a little bit, right? Because whenever we sort of sit down and analyze our thoughts, we need to think about the manifestation of our thoughts, right? So what we think is how we shape our reality. So if you're sitting around and thinking about all the negative things and about how everyone needs you and how everything is a drag and everything is a burden, like it just shapes your worldview in a negative way. Whereas if you're able to focus on sort of the positives and some of the more beneficial aspects of your life and the things that excite you, right, you're going to see a lot of that coming in for you. And it's very interesting because we have the Four of Swords and the Three of Pentacles. So I think that this burden here, this Ten of Wands, comes from a lot of it comes from people just not wanting to work with you, not wanting to work together with you. And I feel like that's especially hard for you guys, especially if you're like a Libra moon, because, you know, you guys are so, like, you want the harmony to be there. You want the peace to be there. But when people are sort of argumentative and not willing to work together, you end up with this energy where things are just made more difficult. And I feel like that's why you're so burdened, because it feels like nobody wants to work together. It's like you're just, everyone's fighting and you're screaming like, why can't we just get along? And I think that with this Four of Swords, it's telling you just sleep on the matter, right? I think that you guys are just better off taking a nap, staying in bed, letting everyone beat their heads against each other. They'll figure out that they need to work together sooner or later, but in the meantime, you sort of don't stress yourself out, because I feel like a lot of this this Ten of Wands comes from you guys sort of stressing yourselves out about things that you don't really have control over, because it's almost like other people's conflicts are bringing you down, and you're sort of creating a lot of this stress in your own head by thinking about it so much. So if we shift our thoughts a little bit, we're able to manifest different things. And by resting, you know, this is what they're telling you to do, like just watch TV, take a nap, go outside, like do whatever it is that relaxes you and really grounds you. And then like the working together bit will come on its own. But it's very interesting because I see the Hierophant and I see the Devil card. And these energies, right off the bat, feel very disconnected to me. All of this feels like it's you guys getting success from, you know, learning to look at things differently, take things at your own pace and all that. But this feels like it's completely different and completely unrelated to that. I do want to mention that this is probably going to be radically different for a lot of you guys. But the Hierophant here talks about traditions, right? So whatever that looks like to you, I feel like is what you're going to get, right? So for a lot of you guys, I'm under the impression that you want a relationship that feels sort of like that old school, um, go on some dates, you know, like go to the movies, like dinner and a movie kind of an energy, right? And it's very interesting because this is sort of in direct contrast to the devil energy. And it's very, and like, you know, you see the sort of religious, like holy symbolism, and then you see sort of like the devil card, right? Which is historically very negatively associated in religion. But I always find it incredibly interesting to see how the devil card is depicted in every tarot deck, and this one is very heavily focusing in on the hypersexuality portion of the devil, right? Because there's also entrapment, there's also vices, there's also just being sinister. Those are all aspects of the devil, but this one is very sexual. So it almost feels like this creep is watching her. And like it almost looks like she's a little bit into it, but it's like realistically how long is she going to be into it, you know? Like I feel like a lot of you guys have had some very turbulent connections, and you're sort of starting to rethink what you want out of a relationship. I feel like for a lot of you guys, like probably a lot of you guys wanted like the sexual aspect was very important to you, but now you're realizing that like there's a lot more to a connection than just the physical aspect. Like once you sort of mix in that physical aspect with that spirituality or that emotional connection, like it becomes a lot better. And obviously like that just depends on whatever your personal preferences are, but that's sort of like the idea that I get when I see the Hierophant in such stark contrast to the Devil card, right? And like, you know, obviously don't subscribe to any religion that you don't like or that you don't believe in, but it like the first thing that comes to my mind is sort of this idea of, I don't want to say like purity versus like whatever, because I feel like that's kind of an antiquated idea at this point. And it feels very extreme, but I feel like like especially since you guys are Libras, it's a lot more sort of happy medium here, where it's like there were certain things in your relationships that you may have taken to an extreme in the past, but now you sort of want to dilute it a little bit to have sort of that healthier connection. And I feel like that in part is connected to this King of Pentacles. Like, you don't want to be overly dependent on your partner. And, you know, this King of Pentacles energy is very independent. It feels more of like a 50-50 rather than like a codependency situation. But that was your reading first time around, Libra. If you enjoyed, please leave a like or a comment because it really helps out the channel. And I personally really love to know if these readings resonate with you guys. But like I said before, I upload my new Libra videos on Mondays. But in the meantime, you guys are more than welcome to watch any of my other timeless readings that I have up on the channel. And with that being said, I hope to see you guys next time for your next reading.